The introduction of the transfer balance cap under the super reforms and particularly new pension treatment has caused a little bit of angst and a little bit of uncertainty and a little bit of confusion amongst SMSF trustees. Tim Miller is joining me today to discuss some of these issues. Welcome, Tim.
G'day, Darren.
Look, let's start with the transition to retirement pensions, or retirement income streams as they are now called. How are the existing streams going to be treated now?
Yeah, look, I think this is one of the more significant changes, and it's going to affect people differently. But transition to retirement, the concept still remains as it is, so it is still a pension, but the benefit will be considered part of the accumulation phase versus the retirement phase. Now, those words might sound odd, but effectively what they mean is which part of the fund is exempt from paying tax and which part is taxable, and the accumulation is where you pay tax, and in retirement phase the fund won't pay any tax. So transition to retirement will still exist exactly the same from an income point of view for members and trustee, or for the members, but for the fund, the income that the fund generates will now be taxable for transition to retirement.
Okay, so an existing transition to retirement income stream is now treated like it's in the accumulation phase of the fund.
Yep.
Is there some sort of trigger point which changes the treatment of that income?
Yeah, so this is, and again, some legislation's been released which has put I guess a finer point on this issue, in that if you've got a transition to retirement pension, at some point you're going to potentially retire or turn 65, and so that would normally be a condition of release where you can fully access your benefits. So rather than stop the transition to retirement pension and commence an account-based pension, which in effect are the same thing, what they've done from the legislation point of view is they have identified that when you meet that condition of release with a transition to retirement income stream, so you retire or you turn 65, then the benefit will move into the retirement phase. It will still be a transition to retirement pension by name, which is a little odd, but it will move from accumulation to the retirement phase, and the fund will gain its tax exemption.
Now, traditionally, transition to retirement income streams or pensions have had no limit as to how large you want to make that pension. This causes a few problems potentially when that trigger point is met, considering that there is now a $1.6 million transfer balance cap that you have to stay within. But talk us through some of the issues there.
Yeah, see, and I think this is where, for those particularly trustees who like to do things for themselves, but even those who potentially go to their accountant maybe once a year or don't have a daily style administration service, what it creates is a scenario where transition to retirement will, upon meeting this condition of release, move into the retirement phase, and therefore it's subject to the transfer balance cap rules. But whilst in accumulation there's no limit, so you could have $2 million in your transition to retirement. Now that's going to pay you an income stream based on that account balance, but then when you meet that condition of release, the maximum you can have is 1.6. So you still in effect have to stop a part of that pension to ensure that you don't exceed your transfer balance cap, because exceeding the transfer balance cap results in a tax assessment, albeit that it's just the same tax assessment as if the money was in accumulation. So it's more of a nuisance penalty than anything else, but it's still something that you probably want to avoid as trustees. So you want to make sure that when you're about to meet that condition of release, hitting 65 or retiring, that you're aware of what your transition to retirement balance is, so you can commute part of it and either roll it back to accumulation or take it out as a lump sum when you meet that condition of release.
When you're talking about controlling the amount underneath the transfer balance cap, there's no warning, is there? So the trigger is automatic, isn't it? You don't get a warning to say that you're about to move into an account-based pension, but have a look at your balance.
Yeah, look, it's a bit quirky in that regard, because I guess the warning is when your birthday is, so you will know when you're turning 65, or let's assume that you know when you're turning 65, so you've got that preemptive I need to act. But how many people are thinking through that? They're just going along with their transition to retirement pension. Retirement's a little bit different because retirement is an event that you've always had to historically notify the trustee of your fund if you're in a retail or industry fund. So with a self-managed super fund, it's a matter of notifying yourself. So at least if you are notifying yourself as trustee, that's kind of that trigger. So it always seems odd. It's a weird conversation talking to yourself about yourself, but that's what you've got to do with regards to moving to the new phase of a transition to retirement.
Yeah. Now, under the new rules, lifetime pensions have changed in their treatment as well. How does that work under the new transfer balance cap too?
Yeah, and look, I think lifetime pensions, and you'll hear these referenced by multiple names, so a lifetime pension, a government pension. Now, when people talk about it in a government pension, they're really referencing who their employer is. So if they work for the government and they receive a defined benefit based on their salary, then these pensions, these lifetime pensions, they effectively are also going to be measured against the transfer balance cap, but they're going to be done based on a lifetime factor, and for everybody it's going to be their annualised income. So the income that they receive after the 1st of July, it will be annualised and multiplied by 16. So to give you a very simple scenario, if someone's earning $100,000 times that by 16, that takes them up to their transfer balance cap. Now, what that actually means, because these pensions can't be stopped, right? They're a defined pension, it means some people will have a value greater than the transfer balance cap. So if someone earns more than $100,000 from a government-based pension or a defined benefit, then they will exceed their cap, and the ramifications are then on the income drawn down rather than stopping the pension.
Okay, so from that point of view, how would they work in conjunction with an SMSF for an individual who is also potentially drawing a pension from their self-managed super fund?
And this is where care really does need to be taken. Obviously, for a lot of people, they needed to take some action before the 30th of June, but certainly they'll be reporting on it a little bit later. But if any client has a defined benefit pension and a self-managed super fund, then they have to be mindful of this $1.6 million. So if they're earning anything above $100,000 from a defined lifetime pension, they can't have any form of account-based pension inside their self-managed super fund. Whereas if they've got less than 100,000 income, when you multiply it by 16, it's obviously going to result in a reduced account-based pension in their self-managed fund, and therefore a requirement to commute that pension, as I said, either back to accumulation or to take a lump sum out of the system.
Okay. Tim is the founder of Miller Super Solutions, and he will be one of the speakers on our SMSF Trustee Empowerment Day for 2017. And he will be talking through some of these issues and some of the other issues that are causing a little bit of confusion and a little bit of concern for trustees since 1 July when the new rules were introduced. If you'd like to come along to hear Tim speak about these issues, the roadshow starts on the 15th of September on the Gold Coast. It's going to Sydney on the 18th of September, and it concludes in Melbourne on the 20th of September. If you'd like more information or would like to register for the event, please visit www.smsmagazine.com.au/events. And we look forward to seeing you there if you'd like to come and join us. Thanks very much for your time today, Tim.
No problems at all, Darren. Thanks.